Hello and welcome. This is Best Foot Forward Shoes, the podcast. This is episode 18, and this is the first UK-based Welsh person we've had on the podcast. Today, we have all the way from Barry, which is very close to Cardiff, I've been told, in Wales in the UK. This is Joe Hughes. Thank you so much for jumping on to the podcast. It is early morning for you over there in Wales, and we're very appreciative of you coming onto this podcast. So we're going to chat about sneakers. We're going to chat about a bit about your content as well that you've been putting on Instagram and TikTok for a while, and just have an overall chat around the kind of reselling sneaker game and some of the upcoming releases that we're super excited about. But first of all, how are you going? How was your weekend? What are you up to today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on. Weekend is relatively quiet. It was my brother's birthday kind of meal yesterday, so I had that. But yeah, get to chat to you today, which I'm really excited for, and bit of a chill one, walk the dog after this. But yeah, pretty much it. What about you?
Yeah, well, it's afternoon here. We've got about 10 hours between us in difference between us in Australia and the UK. So despite our similar complexions and perhaps facial hair, we don't live in the same country because Australians are, distant relatives from those over in the UK. But however, we're stuck in this beautiful country where it's very sunny all the time. And as we were talking about before, you're kind of having rain and kind of wishing for summer, whereas I'm kind of in the wanting a little bit of, cooler weather, that's so to speak. So we're on different sides of the planet right now, but it's the beauty of the internet brings us together. And today we're here to chat about some sneakers. Usually we'd like to start off with a little bit of kind of a wrap up. What have we been wearing lately? What have you recently picked up? Do you have anything to share with us today?
I've been clothing or sneakers?
Sneakers, most likely. Yeah, and clothing as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. Sneakers, I recently picked up these bad boys, which is my first ever Travis Scott retail dub, which I'm very happy to have picked up. I've put some pink laces in there. Don't know how I feel about it just yet, but I'm going to post about it soon. I think I haven't seen anyone else do it really, so I think it does work. But yeah, been wearing them a lot. So comfortable as well. I think these are super underrated, to be honest. But yeah, been loving them. What else? I also picked up these, I know you're a fan of. The Shox Ride 2s.
Yeah,
the Nikes. Yeah, super. Wow, they're just a mean looking shoe, and I just love them. I love the dual cushioning. So yeah, super versatile pair as well in terms of the colorway. Those are probably the pairs that I've been loving the most, to be honest with you. I've had a few other pickups, but
nice.
They're the ones that are like hot on my radar. What about you?
The ones for me, I guess, is only really one pickup for the last week or two, trying to be saving my money for some of the other ones in February. But yeah, the highs and lows Gel Chrono 20, which were released in about November of 2024. And I picked these up from ASICS store for a very good discount. So I was very excited, and kind of the delayed gratification you get from kind of waiting for a sale is pretty nice. So very happy with those. Going to be doing a review of them soon, and yeah, they're super comfortable. They've got like Velcro straps. I'm sure there's already a lot of content about these online, but yeah, we're making a bit more about those. And again, ASICS, riding that wave of just comfort, mesh runners, 2000 runners, like those sort of things are all the rage right now, and you can really see why, because they are insanely comfortable, and you can wear them with a lot of sort of athletic outfits. And as I said, it's summer here in Australia, so you're kind of wearing shorts all the time. But obviously they can kind of go with pants or whatever kind of outfits you want to wear. So do you have any other kind of sneaker pickups? Or I know you were wanting to get the the Black Toe Reimagines, was it?
Yes. I did pick those up as well. I've got these here too. So again, I love a lace swap. I do love a lace swap.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm all about a lace swap, man. I think it really elevates them. Like for me, these look so much better with the green laces. But, pick these up. I missed out on the breads, fuming. So these will do. So I picked these up. These are fire. I think they're underrated as well. But they were sitting. Where did I pick them up from? I picked them up from End Clothing. So lovely details on them. Lovely details on the box as well. So super happy to pick those up. Also, another pair that we've spoken about a fair bit is the New Balance 1906L, the loafers. I could only get a half size down, and they're a little bit snug, to be honest with you. and I wanted the brown ones too. But yeah, still happy I got
They look
these.
nice.
Yeah, they're good. They're great. I just like. I feel like the brown pair would have been easier to style. I'm going to struggle to style these a little bit. They're not my usual kind of thing, to be honest with you. But I think it's a cool shoe, and I'll see what I can do with them. I'll see what I can do.
I think that's what those loafers have kind of done for people, is kind of perhaps try and push their boundaries of what they can style and wear. Like people get kind of stuck into, wearing a certain brand or a certain style, and I think that it's good to have a little bit of variety and perhaps push your boundaries, so to speak. And that's what I think those ones are going to do for a lot of people. I'm super keen to wear those in winter here in Australia, which hopefully will come soon, as I kind of keep harping on about. It's ridiculously hot here in Australia right now. But yeah, basically we brought Joe on today to kind of chat about some of his content that he's been making on Instagram and TikTok. He's got a fair amount of followers on TikTok and both Instagram as well, putting out some B-roll content, but also a lot of like voiceover content. I saw you did a Vox Pop interview style thing at a local, was it a sneaker cleaning or coffee? Kicks and Coffee was what it was called, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, you've been putting out a lot of that sort of content, and it's kind of exciting to, I guess, see someone who has a similar sort of style. And so yeah, that's why he's kind of come onto the podcast. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your content kind of creation journey and why you like doing it so much.
Yeah, 100%, man. So I started the TikTok first. That was in June 2023. And the Instagram relatively more recently in February 2024. So I only recently hit a year of the Instagram being live. Got 16,000 followers on TikTok and 2,200 and something on Instagram, but both kind of still steadily growing, which is really nice. I got into it. I've always been into sneakers, always been into streetwear, and I found myself wanting to post about sneakers and things like that. But like on my personal Instagram page, no one cared. So I was just like, so I just didn't really do it. It didn't feel like the right place to do it. So obviously TikTok was huge by the time I started my own account on there. I just thought I'm just going to start doing it and just see what happens. So I encourage anyone else who's thinking about doing it just to do it, because you kind of find your feet with it and you find out what works. I was very kind of lucky. I kind of worked out relatively quickly what did work and what didn't work. And yeah, just kind of doubled down on it and started posting quite often. And yeah, quite well, not super quickly, but relatively quickly, had quite successful videos, which is really nice. And I just enjoy doing it, to be honest with you. It's just something I enjoy doing. And speaking about sneakers, and I got to chat with people like you. And obviously I went to the sneaker event the other day, Kicks and Coffee, which was great. That was in London. And a sneaker cleaning company paid for me to go. Stay Clean Daily, shout them out. One of the best kits, well, the best kit I've ever used, to be honest. Yeah. And it's like I'm getting like gifted stuff all the time, which is amazing. Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't believe my luck. It's one of them, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just love it. I just love doing it. I love talking about it. I love filming it. I love getting because before I couldn't buy all the sneakers and now I do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of came from that, to be honest with you.
I suppose it kind of comes from, you want to buy these sneakers, but like you want a kind of creative passion to be able to kind of, I suppose, justify it, but also, like some guys I know, they just do it because they love photography, but they also love sneakers, and so they're trying to combine the two. But again, they're not really in it for like making money, and I think that's probably the right way to go about it if you're really in for it.
100%.
Because you're not going to make a lot of like life-changing money from it unless you're, I don't know, Seth Fowler, who everyone thinks I look like Seth Fowler for some reason. Everyone comments on my videos saying I'm the Australian Seth Fowler, but anyway.
But I don't think you look that much like him, mate.
But that's what I think too. But anyway, I think if you're in it for the wrong reason, you're going to be disappointed. And I think that, as I've said on this before, it should be born out of a kind of a passion for it, and sneakers is, I guess it's a fast moving thing as well, and you can grow very quickly, like you've kind of seen in a relative growth. When you said you were on TikTok as well as Instagram, is TikTok kind of your preferred one because you have more, or are you saying Instagram is the one that you have more passion for?
I would say TikTok is probably the one I have the most passion for, just because I get the most engagement, like reaction. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I find with Instagram, it can be a bit of a place where people see it, but they don't always engage or show love. Or do you know what I mean? Like they'll see it and not react. Whereas I find TikTok, it's a tricky one because it's not always the case. But historically, for me, TikTok has pushed my videos more. I've had more views, likes, shares, reposts, followers. Do you know what I mean? Like the kind of engagement rate is stronger for me historically on TikTok, but not on every video. Sometimes it's funny, they kind of like flip flop. Sometimes I'll post on TikTok and it'll bomb, and then I'll post the same thing on Instagram and it'll do really well, and vice versa. It's a bit of a weird. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong with the algorithm there, but yeah, I would say I started the TikTok first, obviously. So that's probably like it's like my baby in a way, you know. But the Instagram I love as well. Don't get me wrong; like it's a whole different audience on Instagram, to be honest. But yeah, no, love them both, and I think I completely agree. By the way, with what you said about like authenticity and passion, like it's truly where it comes from. And I think if you don't have that, it's never going to work because it's a graft as well. Like, it's a labor of love for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think you're right there. TikTok's something I'm not really reached out a huge amount on, but I definitely see what you mean when you post something, say for example to YouTube Shorts or something like that, and then you post the same thing to Instagram and it does really well on one or the other platform. It's very rare that it kind of happens on both, unless it's like a banger of a video or it's like a super kind of I suppose early shoe or something like and oftentimes it's a shoe that like you or a video that you're not even really that psyched about. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, this is awesome, I spent so much time on this, and then you're like, oh, didn't do anything, and then you just chuck up something and it suddenly just gets thousands of views. It's like, oh well, why am I putting so much effort into it?
That happens to me all the time, man. I do a lot of on foot looks of shoes, and it's funny, like sometimes I'll post like the off white Jordan ones, UNCs, post them. They're doing okay now, the video. Like they tot up over time really for me. But at the start, like no movement really, like didn't move the needle. And then I post like Air Max DNs and it just like million of views. I was like, what? Like it's funny. Like sometimes it is just like, I guess it's obviously like GRs are more attainable, so more people want to see them, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, for sure. Sometimes you just knock something out and it just like blows up. And then the video I spent ages on, like when I go like to shops and like talk about stuff or whatever, sometimes they just bomb and I'm like, man, like that's what I put the most effort. But again, I love it, so it's fine.
I suppose we can live in a little bit of a bubble where you kind of like, we know what a UNC off-white is, but to the random kind of person who's just walking by a Foot Locker, they got no idea what that is. And so seeing a DN or something that they could actually afford, and something that perhaps is a little bit, I know the DN is not exactly a calm sneaker, but like ones that are a bit more aesthetic, like Sambas. I always ask people, so why do you like this shoe? Like, why did you buy it? And they're like, oh, I just like the way it looks. I'm like, is it comfortable? And they're like, not really, but I like the way it looks. And I'm like, well, you know, that just blows my mind, because we're all about like kind of comfort and looks, because there's so many shoes that both look good and are comfortable, hence like the rise of New Balance and Asics and all that. But yeah, it's interesting, some of those the mechanics around making that video. So I guess my next question would be, where does like this passion kind of come from? Was there like one shoe that just triggered it all for you?
It's a weird one for me, because I was Air Max ones basically were my first love. The first pair of Air Max ones I had is such an obscure like GR that like I don't even know if like you can't find it on StockX. Like I found the name of it once, but it released in like 2011 and hasn't since. It was like basically like blue and white. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. I wish they would bring it back because I would copy it again, but it obscure. So there's no point talking about it. But that was like the first one I had. I was like, yeah, I love this shoe. This is sick. Rinsed them like worn to death. Air Max ones were definitely my first love, and then the first like hyped kind of sneaker that like fully kind of reined me in were Yeezys, to be honest with you. 350s, big into them. Like I don't have any anymore, but they were the kind of ones that got me into like, and I was into streetwear for a long time, but fully into sneakers. It was that kind of time, like 2017, that kind of time, really.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I think it was probably, funnily enough, it was kind of Salomon's. I used to do like a lot of hiking and trail running and stuff, and so when Salomon kind of and the kind of Gorpcore kind of
Yeah, yeah,
scene was kind of getting popular, and then those kind of worlds started colliding. And I've always loved sports, so I was kind of into basketball shoes a little bit as well. So those kind of worlds kind of led towards going into like New Balance and Asics and all the kind of collaborations and such. So I think, funnily enough, it was probably Solomon and the rise of that sort of scene coming into kind of more of a fashion space. So you'll probably see on my channels or videos, I probably do a fair amount of Solomon reviews because I truly do wear them all the time and really like the style. I feel like they fit my kind of lanky frame a little bit better because they're, especially like the XT6s, they're nice and sleek. I just love
yeah,
those kind of sleek lines that it brings, and it's also just I'm on my feet a lot, so it's very comfortable. So I think those
yeah.
Salomons, Salomon is such a great brand, and yeah, I'm super excited to see them getting like really big collaborations with like Kith and all those kind of streetwear brands, and they're not just a purely functional brand as well, because I just love the way their shoes fit. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Go ahead,
The
sorry.
Kith collaboration is so hard, man. The white and red pair. Is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, like the Kithmas one, the one with the
Yeah.
the Velcro, not the Velcro, the zipper on the side. But they've done other ones, like for example, like just most recently, the one that comes to mind is the Danielle Cathari, who is like the designer for Kith, having that brown and green XT Whisper, which is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like XT Whisper is like a model that was about early 2010s, maybe late 2000s, and that was kind of like a women's shoe. And so they've literally like they got like Sandy Liang, Danielle Cathari, all these female designers to do collaborations on that shoe because it's actually like a female design shoe, and like it was designed
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
women. So they kind of do lean into what their ethos is, and I just think that's really
Yeah.
cool what Solomon does. Really excited about what they've done in the sneaker kind of space, and that people can wear them and not just be using them for functional purposes, which is really, really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree.
Another question I kind of had for you around that sort of space where you're creating stuff is sometimes we do have a little bit of like burnout, and kind of perhaps if you're wanting to, there's always that kind of I need to keep on the train, I need to keep kind
Yeah.
of grafting a little bit, but sometimes it can go a little bit too much and you just get a little bit burnt out. So what's your kind of strategy perhaps to, I guess, push through that? Do you just take a break? Do you just say, I just got to try something different? Like you pivot a little bit to something else, like
Yeah.
photos. So what's your process for that?
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because obviously we know the algorithm um likes it when you post pretty much every day, kind of thing. So it's hard. It is hard, and I try and post every day, and for the most part, I do. Recently, I think the best thing I do, because I've definitely felt that burnout, no doubt. The best kind of advice I can give is if you yourself is feeling burnout and you kind of just don't want to look at your phone, like get out into nature or whatever, like go to the beach, go to the forest, like whatever, have a walk. Do you know what I mean? Don't look at your phone, like take the dog out, whatever. That's what I do anyway. That helps a lot. Build up content on your days off is the other thing. So like yesterday, I basically shot content all day, and then I went to my brother's meal in the evening. And that meant that this week now I've got all my content ready to go, kind of thing. I just have to maybe edit it a bit. And then it just makes it easier in the week rather than being like, oh, I need to go like take some pictures, or like I need to go film something, whatever. Because that adds stress as well, because obviously I work full time too. So it's a tricky one. I would say it's fine to take days off though. I've definitely taken days off when I've just felt like I just don't have time to post today and sit there and think about a caption and write something out and put thought and effort into the posts. So it's a tricky one. It's striking a balance, right? Because it's like quality versus quantity. Sometimes like it's tricky because you want quality, but then the algorithm's also like, is it like kind of worth posting just even if it's rubbish?
Yeah.
I just have like a back catalog now, like of unused content from like months and months ago of old shoes that I've kind of posted, but maybe I've got some other pictures of it that I didn't post or whatever. That way, then even if I'm feeling like, oh, I just can't think of anything worse than writing a caption right now because I've had a long day and I'm stressed and this and that, whatever, I can just be like, right, I've got that shoe. I'll just remix an old caption because I save all my captions as well.
Yeah.
My notes on my phone. I'll just remix a caption, just be like, oh, this is the shoe, still loving it.
Don't
You
give
know,
away too many trade secrets. Don't give it away.
Just giving away the free riz, bro.
Yeah, nice. Well, it's funny how sometimes I'll take a photo with my camera and be like, oh, this is awesome, I'm going to post this, and then I take the same sort of photo with my phone and I'm like, oh, they kind of look the same once you put them on the phone, because the camera obviously takes a better image, but then the processing, it just crushes the quality down, and you're like, oh, I might as well just use my phone, which is probably like a lot of people do that actually, just on Instagram. They're just iPhone only photographers, and it's.
I can't lie, that's exactly what I do. I choose my phone.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not a part of that whole. I don't have an iPhone. I was going to say I'm not a part of that ecosphere, but I mean it is an ecosphere now, isn't it? When you have a Mac and you have all that, so I don't have the Apple quality of camera. So I still like using a DSLR. I've been a photographer for a long time, so kind of still enjoy that sort of side of it. So I guess 100%. I'll give you one more question, then we'll kind of move on to our major sort of topic, and I guess the main one is. You're speaking about being on TikTok and Instagram. Just wanted to ask kind of what would be some of the people that you look up to, I suppose, on the platform. Like some people who you could recommend to anyone watching this that's like, I want to kind of get into the more, I guess, professional side of sneakers, and not just like, it's not just the resale stores, like not just Kith. Obviously you can go follow Kith, you can go follow some of the big stores, but like who's someone who really curates their content and kind of is someone that you look up to and follow?
That is a great question, and on the spot, I'm definitely going to miss some people out. So apologies to anyone I miss out. On TikTok, there's a content creator who's doing bits at the minute called John Suave. He does amazing like unboxing videos and like fit videos and like on foot looks as well. His content's amazing. He's got an insane collection. And he's growing really well as well. So that's awesome to see. I met him a week ago, actually, at the Kicks and Coffee event. Such a humble, like authentic guy. So that was sick. So definitely him for TikTok. Instagram, oh boy. There is a content creator called Closed on Sundays. He's excellent. I think he's US based. Nurse Kicks. Oh man, really putting me on the spot here. There's a lot, to be honest with you, and I'm struggling to think out like exact names, but you know, their content is like crispy clean. Do you know what I mean? And like super well, like they created like really, really well, and definitely something I kind of like, you know, look up to and aspire to be like and take inspiration from. You know, it's with the kind of content creation, you're always learning, right? And you can always do better. And I think that's one of the best things I've found about like getting into all this online is that I've kind of like met loads of like amazingly talented, like really inspirational people. And it's like great to see them grow and great to like you'll see them do something, you go, oh, that's giving me an idea for this. And engaging with them is just sick, and they're also such lovely people. It's really cool. Those are probably the main ones I would say off the top of my head. There's bound to be more that I'm forgetting. Yourself as well, mate. Honestly, your content is fantastic. I've really enjoyed watching your videos, like that New Balance one with the 1906 Albert in the is it oak? What's it called?
Rich oak. Yeah. Kind of
fire video, mate. Love that. I just love it, man. I love seeing everyone doing their own thing, and everyone's got a slightly different style, and you can take a bit from that, take a bit from that. You know what I mean? And like remix it in your own way. So yeah, those. I'm bound to be forgetting people, so like huge apologies to whoever if anyone's watching this and I've forgotten you. But yeah,
I think I could probably only mention a couple, and they're mainly like photographers. It'd be like a guy like 80 Sneaks, Andrew Dutton, who does great photography. A guy called his name's Paul Sneakers. He's only got like 2,000 followers, and I'm like, how does this guy not have like hundreds of thousands? He's like incredible. Those sort of things. Obviously, there's the kind of big ones like Seth Eaton doing his sort of quick short review videos and stuff like that. Obviously, Josh Dominic. I'm kind of just naming people that I've had on the podcast at this point, but yourself as well. You're kind of quick, short, sharp, snappy stuff, and it's like it's also, I just love seeing people from all different parts of the world. Like I could.
Yeah.
Lots of mates that we've got in Australia who do like great sneaker photography, like Old Man Sneaks, his name is Donald, and he's just got some like I don't know how he buys all the shoes, but you name it, he has it. I don't know how he does it, but anyway, he's got great photography. All those sort of things is super cool.
Yeah, there's another one I've just thought of as well. There's a guy called John O'Chrome who he works for the Soul Supplier. I don't know if you know who they are, but they're like a sneaker website in the UK, and his photography is excellent. It's sick to see him kind of. He's like doubled down on his own account recently, I think, and his photography is excellent as well. So definitely something that inspires me. Great to see him kind of making moves, and like his content's getting like insane reactions and stuff. So that's just another one I wanted to mention before we move on.
And no stress. Well, speaking of moving on, it's probably, we spoke about this topic before Complex Sneakers released their latest podcast, which was titled "Is Reselling Dead?" And I was like, damn it, they stole our title. Because they basically brought in a consignment sneaker reseller who came into their studio and chatted, and I was like, oh, well, okay, well, that gives me a couple of talking points as well. And he's basically talking about 5 years ago, everything was about Jordans. Everything was about Jordan 1s, 4s were getting kind of hot. And now he mainly sells like ASICs and such. And he's selling them for a pretty small margin. Like he's not making a huge amount of money. So he's finding he has to spend more money and get more stock so that he can try and sell it. I guess the main topic that we're going to cover here is I don't want to steal their title now because now it looks like that we stole ours, but like, is the sneaker resale kind of market in a little bit of a lull, or is it going to kind of taper off completely here? Because I haven't really seen a sneaker come up in the last, I'm going to say, year and a half that I've seen everyone wanting to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars or pounds for. So I guess you can answer that in any kind of way you'd like, but that's kind of my opinion, is that I haven't seen a sneaker go that sort of high resale in a long time. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think the biggest kind of release we've had, and to be honest, I don't actually remember when they released, but the medium olive Travis Scott's, it feels like Jordan 1 low Travis Scott's are the only thing that are generating like huge attention right now. It was interesting to see the breads kind of generate a bit of interest, considering everyone's like, oh, Jordan 1s are dead. Like they're not dead. And they're definitely not dead. And I don't think they kind of will be. There you go. You got him locked and loaded. It's a tricky one. I've personally really enjoyed over the past kind of couple of years being able to get whatever shoes I want, and not have to pay resale. And I'm conflicted on it because it's good for me, but potentially bad for the culture. I don't know. My thing is as well, I've always kind of disliked resellers. I know there'll always be resellers, but I hate paying over the odds for shoes. But it is what it is, and it's always going to exist. And it's a result of hype being there and interest being there. So it's a tricky one, and like potentially a bit of like a balance, But it is interesting to see with the new CEO at Nike, how they're kind of changing their approach to things. Like you said, the last couple of years, they've kind of just been like every shoe has like a million pairs, and they're going to sit on the shelf, even if they're like, OG like Jordans or whatever. It's interesting to see that shifting now. Like I think it kind of really started with the bread ones. I think that's the first kind of like Jordan specifically we've had that has been very limited and generated like they're reselling for like what I feel like £400-500 is it? I feel like it's something like a lot anyway. Considering like if they released more pairs of these, they'd be going for under retail, I think. So I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's good and bad. I like it in a way because it's like we've had such accessibility for such a long time It's cool to see people getting more interested and like they're kind of being more hunger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
more like a bit more rabid for it, which is
Hmm.
good in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it.
Hmm.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I really want the Union LA Jordan 1, so I'm hoping
Yeah.
hoping I can still get them, bro. So
100%,
yeah,
100% gonna pay whatever I can for those and try
yeah,
hitting up as many like my American kind of sneaker kind of friends to try and find a way to get those for me. So I'm super excited
yeah,
about those ones. But yeah, the I think what kind of maybe rubbed people the wrong way about these shoes, these ones, the breads, is that yes, they were like limited, but it seemed like anyone who was any sort of internet famous got a pair before anyone else. And it
yeah,
kind of, and some of the conversation I saw about it was like people were saying, oh, well, I've put in the work to be an influencer or something, so I kind of deserve them in a way.
mm,
And some people were like, well, that's just wrong. We're like regular people. We just want to collect shoes, and this is like a shoe that is iconic, not only in its name, but in its status in the kind of culture. And I think some people were a bit miffed about everyone who was anyone kind of getting them before everyone else, and then when it did come for a release, it became very hard to get some of them. Although I did see, I think there was probably more than what they led on to believe. They were like, there's only 10,000 pairs, and they're only releasing in America
yeah.
in
In
certain
like 23
stores.
stores.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I saw there was probably more than 10,000. I don't know. So that number's
Gotta
always
be.
a bit fishy. Um,
Mm,
but like you said, 400, 500 pounds, which is roughly about 800 Australian for a shoe, is for that shoe, to me doesn't feel crazy. It doesn't feel like it's a let's say, just for example, off the top of the head, one of the Galaxy foams. Something like this, which kind of has been in that revered Grail sort of status for such a long time. Even going back a little bit further last year, the Wu-Tang Dunks, those sort of shoes have kind of now been, I suppose, killed off a little bit because of
mm.
the now accessible releases in 2025. So, do you think that this is going to be a continuation by Nike, or do you think that this is going to be all right, we're done kind of here, and will maybe some other brands take this approach?
Um, it's a difficult one because like again I'm torn because like part of me is like
Mm,
I love that more people can get these kind of grail worthy shoes. I
mm-hmm,
think that's a good thing because not everyone can spend, thousands, whatever it is, on a pair of shoes.
mm-hmm,
Um, but then, like you say, part of me is like, but also it kind of not ruins them, but like
mm,
it takes away some of the kind of specialness,
yeah.
for lack of a better word, um, from the pairs. I think, based on how Nike are going, I think that they're gonna basically they've already obviously reined in massively like the stock numbers they're releasing. I think they're gonna
Mm-hmm,
continue doing that. I think for a lot of the super hyped pairs that we have coming this year, I imagine they're gonna be quite
mm,
limited, like the breads. But
mm-hmm,
yeah, other brands. I don't know. I don't know if I can see other brands following suit. I
yeah.
think one of the points that I think Brandon Dunn made on that the Complex podcast you mentioned there was saying like how it feels a bit like Jordan are kind of being like, oh, you think we're kind of like out of the game? You think we're like we're done? Have all this? Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
It does
mm-hmm,
feel like that.
yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of throwing their weight around, being like,
Yeah.
don't forget
Yeah.
who's been the top dog for
Yeah.
a long time, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, also on there they talked about the Union LAs having a lot of stock, so there may be more of a chance for people. So that one is probably going to be a little bit more accessible. But then there's probably going to be ones like what are they going to do with like the undefeated fours, which are probably a very
Yeah. Oh,
sought
mate.
after shoe. What
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with the undefeateds.
I think
Very interesting.
I think the nail in the coffin for me would probably be if they ever retroed the pigeon dunks. I think if they ever
Yeah,
did that, I think that would that would kind of ruin it. That's the sort of
yeah,
shoe that I think you just leave alone. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
no, to be fair,
yeah
after everything I said, I completely agree with you.
yeah
I completely agree. They should leave them alone. I don't know
yeah
why, but they just
yeah.
should. It's
I'm
too
trying to think of other
predatory.
brands that could have that kind of. I suppose I just saw like even a 10-year anniversary edition of like the Ultra Boost ones, and I was like, wow, it's been
Yeah.
10 years since that, and there's but I guess Jordan's been around for so long and has that pedigree that they can retro these really kind of legacy shoes, so to speak. I think it will
Yeah.
take a few more years for brands such as New Balance to retro a shoe if they continue this trajectory where they get to
Yeah.
the kind of higher level of where Nike and Jordan are right now.
Yeah.
I think Adidas might have a few of those kind of pairs, and perhaps
Yeah.
could do some cool collaborations with like I don't know, an NWA type, what do you call it, like the Superstar, something like that. Just something that quickly comes to mind where they could kind of have a special release, kind of what Nike's doing, but again, they don't have the pedigree, and I think Nike's in that very
Yeah.
special position where they can quickly retro. Just
Yeah.
coming to mind about those Wu-Tang dunks. Did you hear the story about the why they kind of came back? Like, speaking about that Complex Sneakers podcast, they brought kind of I suppose the creator from the Wu-Tang Clan onto the podcast, and he said that he wanted to even go and find a pair and how much they were, and the resale store that he went to was one of the biggest resale stores in Japan, and he couldn't even get them. And so his thoughts about reselling, he couldn't get them because they were over like $100,000. That's why. And interesting to think, like, if he couldn't even get them or the resale store couldn't get them, then what chance does anyone who's trying to get into sneakers? And I guess that kind of brings me into my point of, are we gatekeeping sneakers? Is there now you have to have a certain amount of money to get into sneakers, and if you don't have, I don't know, even just looking behind you, if you don't have a Mocha Travis 1, are you really a sneakerhead? If you don't have Jordans, are you really a sneakerhead? Are we, by pushing the prices of these resale shoes up, are we gatekeeping kind of a younger generation from coming in?
Yeah, 100%, man. It's difficult, isn't it? Because I also like, for me, I feel like sneakers should be for everyone. And yeah, it is the balancing act, and I know I keep saying that, but it's tricky because you want to generate hype and interest and create legendary shoes and that kind of thing, but in the process you kind of exclude a lot of people from being able to get into it. And you see people posting with like all their Travis Scotts and all their off-whites and all their, do you know what I mean, like full
Yeah.
collections, and I'm like, I don't know, like even for me, I'm like, I get jealous. I'm like, oh my god, how do you
Yeah.
have all those? Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And you feel like, oh my god, should I have more of these? Like,
Yeah.
you feel like that as a content creator. So like, as a normal person, you must be like, Jesus Christ, like,
Yeah.
how does one begin to get into all this? So yeah, in a way, I guess we are kind of gatekeeping it from the ordinary person a little bit. And a little bit of that is fine, but because the other thing as well is like the gratification when you actually finally get a grail is a good feeling, and you don't want to lose that either.
Yeah. 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 I know what you mean. I know what you mean, that there should be, I mean, that's why like things like Lamborghinis and Ferraris exist, That's why those kind of, I guess that's somewhat of a good comparison I can think of. Like, that's why those things exist, because in this world there are like luxury sort of items, and I suppose sneakers to the kind of everyday person are not really a luxury item, but to kind of people like us that might revere certain sneakers in a different light, there are luxury sort of items. And I think that there's a reason why there's Gucci, there's Louis Vuitton, all those sort of brands, because people put value on that higher social status. I'm getting really deep into like social science here, but I think that's it's kind of a good metaphor for society, where we have like people who just want to wear like Sambas, like white Sambas. They're happy with one pair of shoes, and then there's people like who just want all the Jordans and like all the Travis Scott Jordans. So I suppose there's levels to it, like you were saying before, and I think if we keep putting the prices and such up, obviously inflation plays a good deal in this, limited stocks play a good deal in this, but I think the more we push those prices, we're pushing more people out, and And I suppose what we've been talking about, where we're talking to other people on Instagram and TikTok and building a community and a culture, I suppose you want to keep bringing people in. Otherwise, you're just going to be living in a bubble and you're just going to be hearing the same voices and no one's going to have any fresh content or fresh, perspective on anything. So any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah. It's again, man, it's tricky because you need to be bringing new people in. And I think, I mean, in a way, it's almost like maybe having these grails that are so legendary you can't even get them, or like they seem so unattainable. That's kind of alluring in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, when I first got into sneakers, it was Yeezys, like 350s, and I couldn't get them for love nor money. Do you know what I mean? It was like every single raffle, L. It's a similar story now, to be honest, with other shoes, but it's just like I just remember thinking, like, I just want these so bad. I want them so bad, and I cannot get them. And then eventually, I got a pair. I got the triple white 350 V2s. That was the first Yeezy I had, and I was like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, it was just like felt insane, So there's a case to be made for that as well, like maybe having these like goals to aim for, potentially is part of the fun. It'll be interesting to see how the sneaker kind of culture looks at the end of the year, after the year we have upcoming, because there's some insane releases coming across the board. So I think I'm really looking forward to and interested to see how we are at the end of the year, and whether it's been for good or bad.
I think it's sorry, that was probably one of the worst questions I've ever asked. Just, do you have any thoughts on that? I said that, and I was like, that's terrible. What are you doing, Harry? What sort of interviewer are you? But basically, I totally agree with you where this year is going to be nuts. It's already been pretty nuts. I think February has been dominated by Nike and Jordans and all those sort of, obviously it's been the All-Star game, which is kind of Nike's flagship show in some ways, like their flagship moment for the year, which February is like, man, I just recovered from like Christmas, like financially, like now you're making me want to buy these, buy these shoes, which I'm very tempted to get, which is as I've got on screen, the black toes, kind of I suppose a consolation prize, so to speak, of the bread ones. I definitely need another red Jordan, but I think I might save it for the Union LA Jordans, Jordan 1s. Maybe I'll save my money on them. But then again,
to be honest, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, mate. I was just going to say super quickly, I've got these, but I'm not wearing them yet until I've taken the L. If I take the L, then I'll wear these.
Okay.
I'll send them back otherwise.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's like 5 days. So it's the 23rd today. So there's a little bit of time until they release. I'm not sure how much release. That's actually a good question. How much do you get in the UK where you see a release is happening in America? Oftentimes in Australia, we're like, well, that's not going to happen here. As in, like, no stores are going to have them. How much of that do you actually get over in the UK?
We're actually generally not too bad. There's only like a few, really. I can't even think of any, to be honest, but there's got to be some. Typically, if there's a release, sometimes dates vary a little bit, but typically we do get a release as well. To be honest, I off the top of my head, I can't think of any that have been like US exclusives or whatever. So I guess maybe we're a little bit more lucky than yourselves by the sound of it.
We don't usually. I mean, we've gotten a lot better. I think in the kind of 3 years that I've kind of been, I suppose, collecting, we've gotten a lot more. That kind of comes with some of the boutiques in Australia kind of leveling up, so to speak, in their kind of collaboration space. Like, just for example, this one here, the up there 2002 Rs with New Balance, like, and the one I just spoke about before, Australian, like that kind of brands collaborating with bigger brands. We're yet to kind of see a big kind of Nike collaboration between an Australian brand and Nike or Jordan, like a really, really big one. But those sort of things have kind of paved the way for us to be able to get some of those. We've got like a couple of tier 1 like Supply Store in Sydney is one of them. They basically get all of the massive releases. But then, like, for example, the shoe that I'm most excited to try and get, which I've already taken one L for, was these ones, the Joe Freshgoods 992s. They're releasing later on this week in Australia in a bunch of different raffles and also on our New Balance website. So we still are getting a fair few. Is there any... A, do you have this shoe? B, do you want to get it? And C, is there any more releases of this coming in the UK for you guys?
So A, I don't have this shoe. B, I would love this shoe, but with so much coming out, I have to prioritize over these. Unfortunately, they're hard and I love them, but there's too much coming, man. There's an insane amount. Like, I really want the white cement Jordan 4s. They're like my grail, to be honest with you. Like I think it's the 2016 pair or 2012. And they're running to the ground. They're like pretty much beaters now, to be honest with you. I want them so much, they're just like gone. So yeah, I've just got to save the money, unfortunately. So I can't go for these. I just have to prioritize elsewhere. What was C again? Sorry.
I was going to ask, were there any other releases of these happening in the UK? Like, I know they already released kind of in America and on the like Joe Freshgoods website, but like, does that again kind of, I guess that leads off my other question, where do you get like delayed releases in the UK?
Delayed releases, sometimes, yeah, the dates do differ. Like, I feel like maybe the Kobe 6s were a bit different. Could be wrong on that, but there's definitely been releases where they come out in the US. Sometimes we're before the US as well, which is weird. I don't know why that is, but I feel like sometimes we're first and then they're second, and then sometimes they're first, we're second. I don't know what that's about, to be honest with you, but
yeah, would that be perhaps your made in England like New Balance pairs, like the made in UK kind of special New Balance pairs? Would that be the reason?
Maybe. I don't know, to be honest with you, mate. I don't know about other releases for this model, because I'm not going for them. I haven't really had my my ear to the ground on them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's been kind of a get one of the Nikes that are coming out or Jordans that are coming out or this pair, and I think because I already took rather demoralizing loss on one of them when it seemed like everybody else got them. Insert W graphic here. It seems like everyone had them or got them in like that leaked release that came out like at the start of February. There was like people assumed that a bunch of these pairs got stolen, and people picked them up from a store in the UK, in the US that only had like 3 sizes, like size 9, which is my size. And I was really tempted to get that. I really wish I'd gotten that now. So I kind of feel like I'm missing the boat on this kind of last chance saloon type release that's coming out later this week. I'm not that I've missed out, but I'm just like, everyone's already kind of posted content about it. I suppose I suppose that's kind of a good question to kind of ask someone like yourself who makes, sneaker content. What's your feeling about sometimes you feel like you need to get a shoe simply to just make content about it, or you feel like you're missing out sometimes if you don't get a shoe, and do you feel that pressure sometimes?
Yeah, 100%, man. I try and go for pretty much every hype, I guess, release that comes out if I can. I'm not gonna lie, I send a lot of shoes back. That's kind of how I get so like many shoes in.
Yeah.
I wish I could keep them all.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really hard sending them back, but I'm not made of money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of just keep the special ones, or the ones that I really love. But yeah, I definitely feel the pressure. Like if like a big release is coming up, and there's like interest online and stuff, I definitely feel the pressure, and I do my best to get them in to kind of meet that, because if I feel like there's pressure to get them in and post about them and stuff, then people probably want to see it, so I just do my best to get them, and if I don't get them, I don't get them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, I guess that's why I kind of like doing a podcast, so that I don't have to get every shoe, but I can still make content about it. I can still talk about it, that sort of thing. Like I can talk about the bread 85s and all that sort of stuff and upcoming releases without necessarily having to try and spend money on them, because again, we're not made of money. We're semi kind of young adults. We don't have kids yet, but we're not like infinitely wealthy. And again, we don't have large enough followings where we just get sent every pair of shoes like some people kind of do, or can afford to buy the shoes because they know that they'll make a return on their content in
Yeah.
some sort of way. So I guess until you get to that sort of level, you can't get every single one. But then it's kind of a catch-22 where you kind of need to get every shoe to get to the level where they're at. You know what I mean? You need to put in that hard work kind of at the start, or just have like outstanding quality content, which is not easy. And like we spoke about before, sometimes the highest of quality content doesn't necessarily get the most amount of engagement. And that's what brands and people care about, is kind of how much your engagement kind of is pushed on those platforms like you spoke about before, your TikToks and your Instagrams. So yeah, that sort of thing. Is there any other releases before we kind of sign off that you wanted to chat about this upcoming either week or month or later in the year? I know you spoke about the white cement. But is there any other ones that you're super excited about?
So yeah, I know I mentioned them, but the Union LA Chicago ones, I'm gassed about them. It's funny, we've been asking for them for so long. Do you know what I mean? Like since the 2018 pairs we had, we've been like, oh, why don't we get a Chicago like Shadow one? That would be so sick. Yeah. And it's funny because now they're actually doing it. Everyone's like not as hyped as they would have been. I guess it's a different time, but yeah, I personally, because like I love that collaboration. It's one of my favorite collaborations. Like the Storm Blues, just insane. So I'm gassed for them. I really, 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 really hope I get a dub. Excited for them. White Cement 4s, again, favorite 4 of all time. Like OG Colorway, can't be it. Just love them, so versatile. The Off-White Jordan 1s, the Euro pair, I believe they're called. Excited for them. We'll probably take an L, but I'll do my best, see what happens. If not, I'll make do with the UNCs behind me. What else? Let me have a quick think. I feel like there's bound to be more undefeated 4s, right? I know they're like super like hyped up and legendary, and like they were like crazy. You couldn't have them basically. I like them. It's gonna be controversial, but like to me, they're not all that. Like just to me, like I understand like the history behind them and stuff, and I get that, and I you know they're hard, but like for me, not a must cup. That's such like I hope I don't get completely slated for that, but like they're hard and like historically amazing, whatever. But just like as a design, like they're hard, but like not like the most like not the pair I want the most this year. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll go for them. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not like I definitely need them. Like I'd rather the Union ones, to be honest with you, or even the Jordan 4 White Cements. Hot take. Can feel the comments potentially there, but yeah, I think those are the main ones. What about you?
I think it depends on the 4. If you're a 4s guy, that sort of thing, you know. I'm not a huge 4s guy because, as I said before, lanky frame, big boxy shoes that I can only wear for maybe like, I don't know, 4 months of the year because it's bloody hot here. You know, I kind of live in running shoes or those sort of mesh runners for 8 months of the year. So when I do have a chance to wear 4s, I have enough that I feel like if I bought a pair of the undefeateds, I wouldn't get enough wear out of them for that time. You know what I mean? You know, I've probably only worn the Armor Manier 4s from the While You Were Sleeping pack like twice because I got them in September or whenever it was, and it was already end of winter. So, you know, I've kind of in that boat already. So, and again, this year I feel like my theme is kind of trying to prioritize certain sneakers that will push your content a little bit more. Ones that like the Union LAs, like the Joe Freshgoods 992s, those sort of things that I think will, ones that people will find interesting. But then also finding the balance between getting some pretty cool GR colorways, you know, those sort of, not being super focused on that and buying shoes that I like just because I like them. So, you know, you got to push that sort of balance, but also trying to perhaps get rid of some of the pairs that I'm not wearing this year, you know, perhaps gifting them to friends or family or selling some of the ones that haven't been worn very much. So I think this year has kind of got a theme of quality over quantity. Let's just say that, if you know what I mean. So that's why
you're going to prioritize, isn't it?
Yeah, life, you know, that sort of thing. It sounds super obvious, and then, you know, people who aren't sneakerheads are like, oh, don't understand any of this. So, you know, if anyone's trying to understand some, you know, random guy just being like, oh, I need another pair of shoes, they think you're crazy. is what I'm trying to say. But I'm glad there is a community that can, exercise this kind of passion that we have. And I guess it kind of leads me on to kind of some final parting words where we can say thank you to Joe for coming on. Did you have any kind of final words, any shout outs for any of the guys? I know you spoke about Kicks and Coffee. Any other shout outs you had before we head off?
God, shout outs. Not massively. I guess there's a few, like on Instagram, Fit Your Fiji. I think that's how you say it. Not too sure. Sneaker GRC. Oh God, you put me on the spot, man. Oh mate, there's bound to be loads that I am forgetting. Neo V2G, I think that's his name. Oh, mate, I might have to. I can't think off the top of my head, but there's loads. If you basically go on my profile and look at the comments, all of those guys are top guys. Love their content. I'm bound to be forgetting people, so super sorry. But look at the comments there. They're all insane accounts. All like supportive as well. If you're trying to make it, follow them, follow me. We'll follow you back, and we'll go together. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, mate. I do really appreciate it.
No worries.
I wanted to say to you as well to keep up the insane work. Like loving your content, loving what you're doing, and it's going to be great to see how we both grow this year.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And of course, all of the links to both your TikTok and Instagram and maybe YouTube will be in the description down below, so you can check out all of his stuff and all of his awesome content. Again, go follow his accounts there, and please like the video. Please subscribe to this channel for a ton more podcast episodes coming up over the next few weeks and months. So there's going to be plenty of discussion. I really appreciate all the engagement that we get on these podcasts. Sometimes I get more compliments about doing the podcast than just regular videos. So I love the fact that longer form content is kind of speaking to a lot of people. So I really enjoy that. It really does help the channel grow if you like and subscribe. So thank you so much to everybody. Thank you so much to Joe. Thank you so much. Have a good day.